I'm Shilpa from GizBot.com, and today I'm here with Mr. Rahul Sharma, who is the Managing Director of LogMeIn. And today we are going to discuss some things about passwords and also cloud security systems. He is already with us, so without any delay, let us begin with our discussion. Hello, sir.
Hello, Shilpa. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So, firstly, our viewers would like to know about LogMeIn, what are they up to, and also how they are contributing to the cloud security system.
Okay, good. So, very briefly, LogMeIn is a SaaS company based out of Boston. We're about $1.2 billion in business, have 20 offices across the globe. The three core problems that we try to solve for is one is connecting people to people, which is doing online meeting and collaboration. Then it's connecting people to technology, which is connecting people to the devices that they use. And in everyday work life or in personal life, you would be using devices like a laptop and a mobile phone or such devices. So how do you connect with those devices? And then ultimately connecting devices to devices without human intervention. So we all know that we live in a connected world, but I think the true connected world will emerge when devices start talking to devices without human intervention. So at the very core of our business, these are the three kinds of problems that we try to solve for. One element of our business which you mentioned is around the cloud and the security aspects of cloud. So the identity and access management of our business, specifically the product called LastPass, deals in providing security to one of the most common threats that you find in the security space, which is password breaches. And that's what LastPass helps users do. If you look at the habits of human beings is to have common passwords spread across multiple online platforms that they use. If I have 3 or 4 email IDs, chances are most of the email IDs will have same passwords. And we bring those habits into the workplace that we work in. That's where the risk of that enterprises carry remains. Those weak passwords become a way that hackers can hack into those systems and then get access to data which will be very valuable for enterprises.
Okay, so when it comes to cloud security or transacting online, the first and foremost question which arises is whether our data is safe. That's a very common question. It's all because of some previous online hacks which has taken place. Like, for example, the one which took place in 2016, which is called as Cloudbleed, which is an interesting name, by the way, where there was some bug in the Cloudflare's code, which took almost 7.4 million domain names were attacked. So what do you have to say about such kind of attacks? Like, how they're going to happen? Like, what is the main reason behind such attacks?
Okay. See, the important part is that one needs to realize that where there will be software, there will be elements in which it can be hacked. There will no software which is without bugs, right? It's about the ability for the company who's making that software to fix that bug in time so that it does not impact the users that are using that software, right? If you look at, there are various instances in which people have been able to hack into systems primarily because of weak passwords, and weak passwords still remains the single most easiest way to hack into security systems. And I was mentioning this to you earlier that the habits that we have when we're using passwords and our we are increasingly using more and more cloud applications these days, right? So we tend to take that habits into the applications that we use, and the breaches more often than not starts happening from there. When hackers look at hacking any system, the first thing that they're trying to do is hack into passwords. So the more common your password is and the more places you use it in, that's the first try that anybody would do to hack into systems. So I think it's extremely important that enterprises, and not just enterprises, even people who are working in enterprises and in their personal space, start developing some sort of a password hygiene. And that password hygiene will always come from having unique passwords which are secure, right? And more often than not, everybody comes out with security policies around passwords, right? But those security policies are still mandated by some workflow which has been designed by that enterprise, right? It's not secure per se. You don't create something which is encrypted. More than that, more than encryption, you don't create a way in which you can authenticate whether the user is actually using this password. So one of the things that LastPass helps users to do is a two-factor authentication. So when you are signing into any application through LastPass, first of all, your password is 256-bit encrypted, which is the highest level of security that you can get. And on top of that, you can also add a second layer of security. So when you put in that password, you will get a multi-factor authentication on your mobile device, which you have to, you have to give the access to for you to allow that password to start talking to. I think these are the things that in today's space become extremely important. It's upon organizations like ours, as well as tech publishers like yourself, to educate users on how to start using this passwords more securely and in a better way.
There was a similar kind of attack which is called as Heartbleed, which took place some 2 years back, where actually what the attackers have done is they have easily entered through the OpenSSL. Actually what OpenSSL was supposed to do is it is some cryptographic library which was supposed to encrypt the data, but instead there was some hole in it which made the attackers to easily enter through the website and access all the users' data. So it looks like there was some flaws in their end. That is not it was nothing like what the user had to do. It was not related to weak password or something, and it can be termed as some biggest attack, because almost 66% of the website they make use of that OpenSSL, and it was also known that even LastPass was a victim of that, but later they told that they have resolved that issue. So what are the steps taken by LastPass to resolve such kind of issues?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think this is extremely important for users as well as organizations to understand. Like I was mentioning earlier, every software will come with some sort of a bug or the other, right? It's about the ability to be able to recognize that and fix that, proactively. So we work with a lot of experts in the security space who actually use their expertise to go in and probe weak platforms. Right? And the moment they put out something which is an alert about a potential security threat is when we start kicking into action and take measures in terms of resolving that. More often than not, we work closely with all of the top industry experts coming in from security space, from big organizations such as Google to certain countries which are experts in security, and we work very closely with them to see how we can one, react to the security threats that are coming out, which are reported, and two, work very closely in terms of proactively fixing them going forward so that such threats do not cover. You gave a very good example of the SSL. I think that was related to how the tokens were getting authenticated, and somebody was able to breach that token part of it. I think a lot of software platforms work with these third-party token SSLs. It's important that you take the best which is available in the industry. Work closely with them to make sure that your product, which requires authentication and SSL it requires the SSL to happen. You work with some of the industry leaders. So at LastPass, we work with probably world's top companies in that space, so that we make our platform more and more secure.
Can you say something like about encryption algorithms or the multi-layer encryptions which have been used in almost all the platforms? Because now encryption has become a common term, especially after it got introduced to the apps like WhatsApp and other things. So can you briefly sum up what is an encryption algorithm and how those multi-layers helps in protecting the data?
I might not be able to give you a right answer to this because this seems a little bit technical, but I'll give you my understanding of how it should work, right? I think encryption, if you look at it, would be a mechanism in which you can change what you have put in as a command into something which is not easily recognizable. And if somebody was to attempt to, put that into a sequence, it will never make sense, right? That's step number one. Okay, I think the step number two is, even if you are able to do something like that, you have a way to authenticate it through some other source, right? Which is where I think, I mentioned this earlier as well, but it's LastPass being a password vaulting platform. What we ensure is that you get the highest level of security, which is 256-bit encryption, and I'm sure you would be familiar with it. That's the highest level of security encryption that you can get. On top of that, we also give you, a two-factor authentication, so that you can, you can authenticate the device that is accessing your passwords, from something which is available to you at hand. We are constantly improving our product, and you will see a lot more update which comes specifically on LastPass on how security will be enhanced more and more from what it is currently.
So till now we spoke about flaws in cloud security systems and all such things. So now let us speak about weak passwords. Yeah, there was a similar kind of attack, but by a group of hackers called as Legions. Yeah, where they attacked like almost many top Twitter accounts, as well as some Indian banking systems also, and also some 74,000 of chartered accountants accounts were also hacked. So it looks like it's all because of the weak passwords used by the user. Yeah. So how such kind of problems can be solved? Like, what you have to say about to the people so that such kind of malicious attacks can be prevented in future?
I think if you look at it, this is becoming a increasingly complex problem. They weren't using too many applications. You had one email ID, you probably had one email ID at work, and you had applications which you access, which gives you, access to pretty much everything that you want to work on. But increasingly, the complexity is increasing because there are more and more applications which are coming into, both users, consumers to use, as well as enterprises to use, right? And it's convenient to have the same password because you can easily remember it, right? But this doesn't end here. It's going to start increasing because today, human beings use maybe one or two devices on an average, right? But in the future, you'll start using more and more devices, right? And you will start using these devices with their own identities as well as your identity using those devices, and multiple people using the devices, right? It's extremely important to now start having a platform in which you can educate users to be mindful about passwords, right? And it's not humanly possible for you to create 40, 50 different passwords for all the things that you're using, and that's where the applicability of LastPass comes in. That's a secure password vaulting tool which helps you in creating unique passwords which are encrypted. Right, and then also helping you with being able to authenticate before anything to do. So you don't have to start worrying about next time I'm going online and I'm creating an account with a shopping and e-tailer. I need to have a similar password for the similar retailer. You can ask LastPass to create that password for you. It'll create a secure encrypted password, as well as help you stay updated to all the other security threats that happen because of weak passwords.
Okay. So that the passwords will be the same, or it will be generated every time?
So you have the option to generate a password once, which is secure, for one particular website. Okay. So let's say I'm using an email tool and I want to create a unique password for that email tool. You can have LastPass generate that unique password for you, which will anyway be encrypted. So every time you sign on to that email tool, you will go into your password vault. And just click that link, which will automatically take you into that email tool.
You don't have to remember anything.
Okay, so the only thing that you will end up remembering is your one password, which gets you access to LastPass, and that's probably the reason why we named it LastPass, because that's the last password you will need to remember.
That's an interesting thing to know. Okay, since we are speaking about password, can you say how an ideal password should be? It's a common question, so it will help everyone.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own take on this. my personal take, especially after I've been starting using LastPass, is to not bother about how to create them, but just let LastPass create that one for me, and I can access it from any device that I'm using. I can access LastPass on my mobile. I can access on my laptop or at home or anywhere. So these days, if I rarely does it happen, but even if I walk into a bank. And I want to use their terminal to access my online banking there. I don't worry about remembering my password, because the only thing I need to do is sign into the LastPass, and there all of my applications are there, and just log in from there. And when I log out, I'm aware that none of my passwords have left a trace, and it can be hacked into. So that's what I would advise, that start using a product which can help you create secure passwords and make life much more easier for you.
So can you say what is the importance of having a good, better security system, cloud security systems? What's the importance of having systems?
It's extremely important to have security in any kind of system that you're making, right? And it's evidently true for cloud applications, because the general perception is that the cloud applications are not secure. But if you look at the trends which are emerging, you would be watching this as well. But 70% of SMBs that these days are using one or the other cloud application. It could be anything. It could be just a invoicing tool, or just an inventory management tool, but it's on the cloud, right? And increasing the proliferation of cloud applications will happen more, right? There'll be more organizations will start using it. More number of people will start using more cloud applications, and security is one of the paramount important factors of choosing which cloud application to go in for, right? And you will find increasingly organizations who are building those applications will also invest more and more on creating secure plus scalable products. That's the advantage that you will get with a cloud application.
Now we all know how India is working towards becoming a digitized country. Yeah, especially after the old currency notes with the denominations 500,000 got banned, everyone, even the people who were not aware of online transactions, everyone started using it. So it's a good move, by the way. But like everything else, even it has its own set of laws. So according to you, what are such security threats which India may face, or which India is facing currently because of this move?
Well, let's see. I'm not close to my expertise does not lie in that space, but here's how I view it. I think it's a really good start in creating a digital economy, right? And all the pillars of the economy are working together, right? If you look at the startup ecosystem, India has a great startup ecosystem which is building that digital economy, right? Some world-class companies are coming out in that space. You have a good technical plus business-minded workforce which is driving that. You also have a great policy-making initiative which is fueling the whole digital ecosystem, right? I think as we move forward in this journey, there will be various milestones that we will achieve, but there will also be course corrections that we need to take, right? I think one of the most important factors which come to my mind is around creating an infrastructure which is secure, right? And all of the ecosystem needs to come together to work in that direction, right? You need to have secure data centers to be able to host cloud applications securely. You need to have all of the other parameters which will help build confidence in the users to start using the products more. But I think it's a great start, and it's the right direction. It's the right direction that we're going out. And I'm quite excited by seeing what's coming out in that space. Everywhere across fintech to medical to any other space that you see, and how the word digital is changing possibly everything in that space.
So finally, I would like to know, what are the steps one should take to have a secure transaction online?
Yeah, I think that's an extremely important question. First and foremost, I think what you should definitely adopt is a good password habit, right? There are weak passwords which expose you to different kind of risks. But having that password hygiene is extremely important, right? And it's for transaction of any kind online, right? LastPass helps you, use the product to securely create passwords as well as use them without having too much of a worry. I think that's step number one. If you go beyond that, I think there are a lot of things that both consumers as well as companies can adopt. A good security policy is paramount, and most often not when we think about security policies, we think about the infrastructure related security policies. So we should have endpoints which are secure, we should have firewalls which are built in, etc. But we just tend to create a password policy and think that's going to help us secure the environment. Never forget, I think that's the weakest link in the chain, and if you don't solve for that, then no matter what you create on a security policy may not be extremely helpful, because people will still reuse the passwords they've been using. I was reading one research which said that 42% people have still passwords that they've been using 10 years back. So they have not changed passwords for 10 years, right? All I need to do is have a know-how of what they are using, what patterns they're using, their first name, date of birth or anniversaries, or it's a very common thing, right? And then systematically start using that on the other sites that he or she may be using, and you are at a security risk. I think those are the important points that one needs to keep in mind when they're doing transactions online.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It was nice speaking to you, and all the information shared by you will be very useful, especially for Indians who are moving towards becoming a digitized country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure speaking to you.
Yeah. Now it's time to sign off, but before signing off, I would like to say, if you have any old password or a weak password, it's better to change it. Yeah, thank you.